where to begin. One, we talked about our impressions of Street Fighter 6
Yeah.
based on what was released when we finished playing Mass Effect 2 days ago. Since then, there has been more, not officially put out, of course, but the boat has been filling with water. And some of that water has been, let's say, drowning the plans for what they were going to do with this game's like PR, I suppose. But at the same time, the first leak I saw regarding Street Fighter 6 was not the crazy shit that's getting posted now and like the in-game stuff. The first leak I saw was Max pulling up a fucking magnifying glass at the trailer and just zooming in on the tournament screen in the background and going, that's like 12 names right there. Yeah. So, for what it's worth, right, Capcom continues to be the leakiest ship, right? The leakiest boat ever. It's hilarious because like even all the confirmation that's coming out now is basically like, even without it, you still had that list from what they had put out on their own, right? And the other thing too is when you really look back on it, it's not, I was gonna say like, oh, like Capcom in general, and it's like, but specifically, one, every Street Fighter has had massive leaks prior to its announcement, right? Each subversion with new characters has had leaks prior to its announcement, and then all the fighting games since '09 have had like, so when it comes to fighting games from Capcom, like people want to know, the desire to know the roster is there's nothing stronger than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Who's coming back? Who's new? What's
like,
going on?
As much as we love like breaking down mechanics and seeing what it's going to feel like for the next couple of years, as a tidal wave across the internet, it's like Smash. It's like, who the fuck is in the game, right? That's everything everyone cares about. And because the desire for that is so strong after a game gets announced, there's like there's like no way to fight it back, it feels like, you know? The only way to be in a state where you can be protective against that type of thing is to kind of operate like Blizzard does, where like from ground up, especially back in like the StarCraft days, it was a insane level of security, checking in and checking out on every single piece of information, and almost no outsourcing whatsoever. Yeah. Right? Capcom has to outsource to a bunch of different places to get their games made, which gets a lot more eyeballs on the projects, and that increases the risk every time, you know? And that's not, as long as they continue to be the kind of company that can't afford to do everything in-house, then that'll always be there. And when a game like this comes out, and like the one thing everyone wants to know is who the fuck is in it, I'm not even surprised that, yeah, we now have a full picture list of the entire roster. So, that being said, what I was talking about wanting when I looked at that first reveal with the 4 characters, you know, Chun-Li, Ryu, Luke, and Jamie, I was like, cool, the returning favorites, always, you know, something that is going to be popular, but I love emphasis on new characters because we grow to love those new characters. Yeah. Now that we've seen what that list looks like, yeah, there's a lot of new characters coming, and that's awesome. I'm really happy that the game's going to have like what looks like a full bottom row of 8 new characters plus the returning, you know? So
and just off of those first images, the reception seems pretty good up to now.
So the artwork and of the concepts of those characters look fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
They're crushing it. There's no character that you're like, that looks whack.
No. The concepts work really well. The translation into 3D is what we're going to have to see. Especially when you look at things where you're like, like that one loose-haired version of Jamie looks really cool. I wonder if that's going to be a costume or what, you know? And the fucking memes about like well in advance of the game even being announced, where it's like when Street Fighter 6 comes out and Cammy's got pants, and one dude called the angriest gamer just starts mauling over the fact that she's got pants now, and it's like, yeah, that's literally what happened. Her old costume's in the game, you fucking weirdos, but yes, you can still see people losing their minds over Cammy wearing normal clothes. Oh my god. Anyways, that shit's hilarious, right? DJ looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice change. I mean, Juri's a winning design all around. Honestly, I feel like
I'm surprised that she came back.
Well, Juri's insanely popular.
Yeah.
Right? Juri's an insanely popular character for good reason. She's an awesome design, and like very few of her costumes are bad. Like even when they go for the full-on complete change of look in her 5 look, she still looks super solid in the bike suit. And then there was no villainess in the Street Fighter world, you know, or a Taekwondo rep at that point. So like she fits a nice open spot that was like there, you know. Yeah, Juri coming back, I'm not surprised by that at all. Immensely popular, or Korean for that matter. There you go.
Yeah, Korean.
She literally like checks off a list of a couple things that was missing there, you know. So that's dope. And you know, again, deep in my heart, right at the core of my soul, I yearn for nothing more than Makoto. Of course, I want to see that. I want to see that.
I was just talking about that yesterday.
And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people want to see that, right? She's a fucking amazing, cool character. It would be great, yada, yada. But looking at the list, looks like that's not going to happen, at least for now anyway. All right, so what else do we got? Returning Ed. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I like the boxing boy. I think that's cool. That new list, very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of countries. There's a Mexican fighter, a Chinese
giant
fighter.
centurion Roman like warrior lady.
Yeah, Maritza
with the hair that looks like it's the actual helmet.
Yeah,
and just like gladiatorial outfit. Yeah, buff girl. I'm down for that. Mm-hmm. That's super cool. I'm gonna give that the time of day. You know. Looks like Li Fen as well was the girl that Chun-Li was fighting in the reveal part, and she's not on the roster initially, but it is the orphan that she rescued and raised.
I see.
And with that time being passed, we can look and say, well, she looks about maybe 10 years older than she was in her Third Strike age. You know, I could see the difference between that being like 6 years old and maybe 16, you know, give or take if you want to give it like the tight stretch. Yeah. So this could theoretically be 10 years after Third Strike, which is more than enough time for things to happen. Certainly more than enough time for Ryu to learn what he has to learn from Oro. I'm going to go ahead and assume, though, I think a lot of us were assuming canonically that Ryu Final would take place, but maybe it didn't, because there's a Ryu Final manga that has like a lot of cool wrap-ups for the post-Third Strike world.
Oh,
where it's awesome. It's a really nice like final story of like Ryu and Akuma and all that stuff. That's and cool. What happened, but like a big part of what happens there in terms of resolution is that Ken ends up beating Gil in the Third Strike tournament.
Oh,
and then Ryu is like, whoa, what the fuck? Because he was off training and.
Fighting Oro, probably.
Well, Oro was teaching him his final abilities.
Oh, there was a tournament? What?
Right?
What?
So that's the thing is Ryu and so Alex is the newcomer at that point. He's up to go get revenge for his master and all that shit. Even though like the dude, he's fine. Jean Reno master, he's fine. But whatever. He's like, I'm gonna go get my revenge against Gil for you. And then he ends up fighting Ryu basically immediately in the tournament and like gets bodied right away because like you're fighting Ryu and it's just like, oh shit, bad round one, you know what I mean? Like unluck of the draw, right, with that. But and then Ryu goes up against Oro and then is out right away. So he finds somebody that is exactly what he's looking for, goes and trains. Ken is the one who goes on and does that. And then afterwards when he comes back to find him, because he's like, yo, how the fuck, what's going on with Ken, right? He's like, let's fight. Let's see what's going on. And Ken washes Ryu's ass.
Oh!
Completely.
Yo, I never heard of this shit.
And Ryu's like, what is going on? How did you get this strong, right? And the conclusion of Ken's story is his bit where he's like, I realize essentially that like instead of trying to like chase your path of power and all that, I'm going to draw power from the fact that I'm protecting my family and having my family be my grounding center point is what makes me
where's
strong.
Your family, Ryu? Right? You don't have anything to protect.
So like if you're seeking that's literally the deal, right? If you're seeking power, right? What do you draw as your center point to pull power from?
Yeah.
And for Ken, he realizes that's his family, so that's what allows him to become super strong, and that's his conclusion, right? And then Ryu's like, God damn, oh fuck, okay, wow, shit, I gotta figure my stuff out. And then
Sakura on speed dial.
well, you know, and then he kind of goes on and does and has this.
I need more power.
Give me more power.
And
Akuma behind is like, word?
and so then he has this big showdown with Akuma, and then he learns this like ultimate punch that's like that punch through your entire body kind of crazy thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the final super art that he learns, and it's a whole thing, right? So that direction, however, seems to be completely table flipped and upended. Or if it did happen, then more time passed afterwards. Because one thing's for sure, we know Ryu gets over the Satsui no Hado, but Ken's conclusion doesn't seem to be like it's stuck, because it seems like we're going with Hobo Ken has lost all his riches in pursuit of fighting. Now, this is all rumors coming from the list, but like we can see that he's art style confirmed to be from one of the shots in game. Looks like he's wearing pretty like bummed out clothes, so it wouldn't be out of place. Where it's like he's got in 5 he's got like the clean trainer's shirt and like the clean thing going on underneath his gi, you know. But like but here in this case, yeah, you're seeing him look pretty ragged. So it looks like Eliza left him, and seems like she took Mel as well. There's something about the dog tag of Mel's or not.
Yeah,
right?
they're not his dog tag, they're Mel's.
So so people were wondering, it's like, does that mean Mel's dead or something like that? And it's like, we don't know. It might just be that she took him and Melon left. We're not sure yet. But either way, the wife's gone, right? That seems to be what they're going with in this setup here. Now, that's funny because like I like the version of events that I just told you about. It's a cool idea as long as you're like, this is within the framework of the power of Mamoru.
Yeah.
Because all storytelling has to be in Japanese fighting games has to be like filtered through the lens of like Bushido qualities and all that shit. So as long as you know what you're getting with that, sure, no problems. But with this is interesting because it also is like, it feels like you're taking a page out of 2 already explored character degradations of sorts, where one, Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade don't stay together, right? You see how that turns out a little bit later when MK11 comes around. And then 2, I mean, just the overall Wild Wolf look that Terry Bogard picks up as you go into the future as well. It feels like design-wise and story-wise, you're kind of taking a bit of what's happened with these 2 characters and, you know, now bringing it to Ken way later than everyone else did, certainly, but it seems to be a thing. If you're seeing something like, oh, he's having a hard time getting the flames out because of his lost family or whatever, my hope is that he can have resolution, right?
Yeah,
because
a bit of redemption at the end or something.
Because if that's the starting point of his journey in this arc or whatever, then he can make it back to a place where he's better at the end, and if so, then that's cool. So I hope that that's what they do with him. You know, like if we start with a really sad place, then like that's like, oh shit, unexpected. But like if he makes it back, you know, to some sort of comfort or figure something out with himself, then that'd be cool. So and then yeah, we see some of the other new characters look interesting as well. We got like a Fong follow up, right, with like Eki or so.
Yeah, Eki, the Chinese one.
Yeah, and
like
JP looks fucking awesome.
JP, yeah.
Like kind of like when we saw G, you're just like, I don't know what this character's deal is, but it's an old man dressed to the nines. He looks sick. Very cool. Rashid looks great. I'm glad Rashid's coming back. And guess what? We all like Rashid, despite not knowing what the fuck Rashid was before he was announced.
Except
right?
Rashido.
Amazing.
What a beat.
Right?
What a beat.
Rashid went from being an unknown to now being a classic. What a great character. Glad to see him coming back, right? And that's the hype of new characters for sure.
You know, I would say on the diversity chart, it's pretty low. Pretty low poor scoring.
Well, I don't know, man.
It's missing weird monster character like Q and 12 and you know, all we have in Blanca. That's the only one, you know.
Well, first of all, Anna, who's Arab, on the list gets a 7 on 10, and so is Rashid, so he would also at least get a 7 on 10, which is not that low. Second,
yeah, but they're not different race though.
Second,
okay, let's go ahead.
there's a I don't trust Min to walk the third rail. Second,
Yeah, I know you don't trust me either.
you barely.
I'm like holding both electrified rails.
You know what we can
on
do?
the floor.
Me and Reggie could watch it and exclude you out of that. How about that? We could do that, right?
Don't test my mute button. Anyways, we also see in Metro City a shot of there's someone in the background that looks like they're wearing a trench coat and a hat. So we might be seeing Q in the distance there, right? Okay. Also, if you want to work in the entire thing, which I know they don't always come up to with their conclusions on this stuff, but if we're just doing plot discussions, the whole thing with G seems to be a whole power of the earth, Pangea desire. He wants to be the president of the earth. He wants to use that power. And then he also wants to create essentially functioning copies of himself that can go out into the world and serve his purposes, which are cues that are mindless, like weird drones that go, right? But as the Qs are walking around and doing all these moves and making noises, what they're trying to probably communicate is power to the earth, right? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to speak to you, you know, whatever, light it up, all that shit, but they can't because they're just weird. But like they could still be walking around at that point if the idea of Q being a character that shows up in multiple places on his ending is a thing that like, oh, G's plan worked. G shows up and then like disappears from the timeline, and then now we just see all of his copies walking around. Could be a thing, right? Don't forget the way that Q's ending goes, right? So there's that. But we see him walking around, and we see a trench coat guy in the background of one of the screenshots of Metro City. So there might be Q's walking around in that adventure mode. Speaking of that adventure mode, aka Virtual Quest, aka combat adventure.
I'm interested in that.
Sure, aka Tekken Force mode, whatever you want to call it. If you can take a custom character, right, and you're putting your moves on them and you decide what move list you want that character to have, that's something that scratches that whole itch that NetherRealm's trying to get with the whole customizing bit, and scratches the itch of creating single player progression. But competitively, we hate that shit because you can't balance for it.
Yeah,
right?
The potential for broken characters.
Right. So how do you fix that? There's one potential way I can see fixing this, and if they do that, they'll be very smart. Where if you have normal online matches, ranked, casual, lobbies, etc., with the roster, and then completely separate from that is an online mode that you use in that single player adventure where you only fight against other people's custom characters.
Yeah.
Right? If you completely separate those two from each other and go, this is the regular and this is custom versus customs only, no problem. Problem solved.
Yeah, that sounds like the goal thing to do.
And then you fight somebody that's a higher level than you and they're better than you and they have more life and they hit harder, go get more shit. Yeah, okay, fine. No problem. It's a completely separate game at that point, right? I could see that being a way of essentially like putting in that single player progression to keep people interested in that stuff. I hope that there's a way to like transition you over, of sorts, because if you kind of just end up going into a mode where you essentially are like, well, what makes you better is time, everything is time, but what makes you better is like leveling up your character so that you have more life and you can just take more hits and stuff like that. It's a different thing from what a fighting game usually is. Essentially, is you're putting a secondary type of goal and mode into the game.
But for me, it's like fighting games, I don't really play against people much. Like my big appeals is single player.
Single player content.
I love Mortal Kombat for that reason, because the story mode is like really compelling to me, and I would like to see for the the world while you explore the world tour, and a seamless transition into battle without like changing screen or whatever. Just like you're talking and suddenly the camera just pan away and then fight. Like I want to see that.
Yeah, well, you see a glimpse of something that seems like that when you're talking to somebody, and then he backs off, and then it goes fight. That's what the original. So I mean, God, like no one remembers this shit, but back in the year 2000, there was a Korean MMO that was called King of Fighters Online before the beat 'em up King of Fighters Online came out back in 2010 or 14 or whatever. 2 decades ago, there was a game called King of Fighters Online, and it was an MMO where you'd walk around with. It was pretty much just like like Kyo Yori, Kim Kapuan, Jae-hoon, Dong-hwan, Mai, Leona, and like I don't know, maybe like one other character, Terry. Yeah, and then you'd walk around, and then you'd see somebody on the street, and then if you both like nod at each other, then the camera would rotate and become a fighting game for just you two right there, right away.
Oh wow!
Right? Didn't look like it was a great game, but that was a concept that was the main thing this game had going for it, right? In Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, one of them. Might have been Jedi Outcast. You had the ability to, in an online multiplayer setting where you're all free-for-all deathmatching, you can find somebody and like create a duel with just them, where you both taunt and lock into battle, and you have a lightsaber battle, and no one else can kill you. You can only kill each other, and you're having a duel, and that's it.
Yeah,
right? Cool. So it's a concept that's been explored in a minor way before. That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. I think they're kind of hinting at like maybe you're going to walk into an area where you'll see people standing in spots to get into a fight. So it's not necessarily sparring on the streets anywhere, because that's asking for a way more expensive mode than what World Tour seems to be. That's asking for like a full-on MMO experience, essentially. You know, I think this is going to be more about like a Souls, like you're having a single player thing, and then you get to a part where it's like, hey, you want to connect to somebody who's waiting to have a match right here. Okay, cool.
Part of the neighborhood or whatever. Okay.
And so yeah, and if that is where you end up having all these like temp buffs and daily stat armor changes, and you know, first Shoryuken is like fucking 20% stronger. Extra, yeah, or gem shit. Yeah, sure, whatever. Right, as long as it's just you contain it into that mode, I can see that being a thing. And notice that it's not a ton of leaks about like other features and modes and things like that either, right? It's like we got to look at Cammy Super and then the roster, because that's the drugs that everybody needs right off the bat.
Easier to leak too. I mean, I suppose for the modes, you will have to explain it and not.
Yep.
Yeah. The screenshot will not tell everything.
Well, Blanca had his little scarf. Ed was there. Rashid was there as the rep from like 5. That middle row, who else was there again? Right, okay. Oh yeah, that's it. I was trying to think of Akuma. Fucking
yeah.
Done. Perfect. Right? Akuma's look, you did it.
Way
you nailed
better
it.
than 5.
Well, I mean the lion's main thing, like okay, we've just give him the beard. We all agree a beard is cool for Akuma. Maybe not a full-on silly looking lion's mane, but like yeah, they fixed it. That looks great. And Akuma's like should have had his gi ripped and fucking hanging like that from day one to begin with.
The French girl Mimi seems cool too.
French fighter. Yeah, could be interesting.
Probably a sister Remy or Abel or something. I don't know. I'm just.
I mean, Remy's a frozen sister. I mean, like that's the reason why he fights, right? It's not impossible.
Damn.
Like, is it a Mexico
yes.
fighter? Yeah.
Really?
So like that makes me wonder if there's like a T-Hawk connection there of sorts, because when you go with a Mexican fighter design and you go for specifically something that looks like it's like Mexican native with like the feather and the other specific details there, that looks like you're going in that T-Hawk direction, right? Might be from the same village, because Julie was also from the same village, right? So that in fact, no wait, that was T-Hawk's sister if I remember correctly.
I don't know this story.
Yeah, T-Hawk's sister Junie was kidnapped and she became a doll, and the truth was that like that's who T-Hawk was going to hunt down. Oh my god, whatever. Anyway, Street Fighter lore. Yes, it's a thing. Remy has a sister as well. Yes. Kimberly as well.
Yeah.
So she's just like American girl with the.
I've heard rumors of her being like Bushin Ryu related.
Oh yeah.
That's what I've been seeing online.
If you're following traditional Bushin Ryu lineage, you can only have one student at a time. So that, unless someone's breaking the rules, it's supposed to go Zeku teaches Guy, this Guy teaches Maki, and Zeku. Usually the master dies, but Zeku, instead of dying, he just gives up on Bushin Ryu.
Oh.
And because like usually you're supposed to have one master, one student, and then when the master dies or gets killed by the student,
becomes the master,
and then finds a new student. One. That's how the lineage is supposed to go. Zeku, instead of getting killed or dying after he teaches Guy,
still wanted to party.
So he abandons it and goes and creates his own stuff, and basically seems to be, he founded a ninja style that might have been the origin of Striders.
Yeah.
And Maki is supposed to be the current like student that then would become the master. If she's learning Bushin Ryu, then they would have to be passed on, but then that means Guy would have to have given up on it. So not impossible, but
saying that Maki has beef with Guy. Guy doesn't teach Maki. Maki has beef with Guy because she wanted to be the master. What?
Mordecai, how you doing? Did some digging. But the summary is Maki and Guy are childhood friends. Despite that, she thinks Guy is not worthy of being master and is basically a sort of rival relationship. Also, she is the sister of Guy's fiance. Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. Arciel Ardor, how you doing? Hello, Shiny Wooly. Alolan Reggie and Mega Min. Would you say that this latest version of Ken discovered the power of Satsui no Hobo? Until proven otherwise, that's certainly a possibility.
You gotta win to fall.
All right.
Damn. What if you stop right after winning?
That's what happened to Ken. That's what I mean. Okay, you want to stopping.
Yeah, before
retire.
Yeah. Retire on top.
Like don't. No, okay. That's
and then
too
you
dark.
get bored, and then you come back in because you can't stay out of the game. You know. So, but yeah, it's not surprising at all to see how fast this leak list came down, because it's like, Jesus Christ, people couldn't want to know anything.
And no release
harder.
date yet.
You know,
no, 2023 is all we know.
I usually don't trust or believe in leaks, but these ones are super believable, and it's hard to say that that's fake. You know, like,
well, the artwork looks super official, but then there's 2 shots of in-game footage of
the same art.
Both Cammy doing a super in the same outfit and Ken doing just a title character select screen pose in the same outfit. So that's hard confirmed.
Yeah. I'm
sure.
saying that usually leaks I don't believe, but these like I absolutely believe it. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Oops.
Anyway.
Oh no! Look at this leak. Oh wow, we're sorry. Oh.
Well, no, they've never. I mean, they literally had a tweet that they put out, which was like, like, hey, people,
you see a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people saw things they're not supposed to see. I mean, geez, dude. Like, if it was just the screenshot Max found with the name list, that's one thing, but it's out of control. But it's always been out of control. Like, this is not a unique to this game thing. You know, it's happened with each of their games so far. So, yeah. All right, more as it comes. But I do hope that they separate the World Tour create a character from the rest and kind of have it be a appealing single player progression path that has some online fun to it. But
not only that, but I hope that mode works and like it's not a waste. I hope people use that mode if it comes to fruition, you know. I
mean, at the end of the day, it'll basically come down to like there will be 3 moves that'll be the best moves that your character should be using. There will be a Hoarfrost Stomp, a Moonveil, and a Bloodhound Step or whatever to apply to your character. That's like, this is the best way to use your points. You're dumb if you don't. That's the meta. Yeah. And then you can just live in that world, you know, and maybe they'll nerf it at some point and puff this move up. And because I'd much prefer that than like Smash Brothers, where like you put the Mii fighters on the character select screen and go like, okay, they're here and they're customizable in that way, because too much variability at that point, you know. So that's Street Fighter 6 takes part 2.
Yep.
Solidus.